Dark pillars of smoke spiraled toward the sky. Bullets ripped through the air and bombs exploded in a sea of flames. I tried to find the tiniest signs of hope around, but there was nothing of the sort. Instead, all I saw were dreadful miles of charred, blackened earth and plants destroyed by the brutal battles. Death was replacing life rapidly in this war zone. All of a sudden, a series of gunshots blasted nearby. A soldier flew backward. His back forcefully crashed against my body, and he dropped onto the ground where I stood. A hole appeared on the left side of his chest as red liquid gushed out from the wound. In mere seconds, shock clouded in his wide-opened eyes, then came the agony, then fear. We looked at each other, and a sorrowful silence fell between us. We both knew what was coming next. As the wind gently blew through my fluttering leaves, I spread my branches widely to cover him in my shades, silently trying to ease his pain. Scattered pieces of blue sky and evergreen reflected in a young soldier's eyes, and all my peace I left with him as he took his last breath. I witnessed my first fight when I was 5. Across 8 decades, war still continued in this land. I lost count of the battles and the people who died here a long time ago, but I always remembered their painful history. There were times when bombs exploded and blew up the soldiers' bodies. Their remains hung down from my branches, and their blood seeped into the soil and soaked my roots red. I didn't think anyone or anything could ever forget these stories. After I was here for almost a century, finally there was peace. Colorful shades of life started to return. At the land where it used to be deadly gray, vast rice fields grew. Miles and miles of emerald green beauty sprawled before me, and little wooden houses with thatched roofs lay within them. On sunny days, children from the village came around to play. They found ways to climb up, running and laughing as golden blotches of sun gleamed on their rosy cheeks. Joining the children, birds chirped happy melodies on the highest boughs, and together they sang and danced to joyful rhythms. Every morning, when the sun rises in the east, farmers brought their buffaloes with them to work in the fields. In the heat of noon, I silently caressed the farmer's skin as they sat under my shades. Their lively laughter and conversation filled the atmosphere. The smell was of sweat, but the land smells fused together with it too. Ripe rice grains and earth and something animal and musky. This must have been the smell of life. "20 years passed, and I almost couldn't recognize this place. Long gone were the green rice fields, haystacks, and plain little houses. Once again, the city was covered in gray, not the destructive gray shades of war, but of asphalt driveways, concrete buildings, and pavements. Roads were congested with bikes, people jammed together in narrow alleyways, and the air was dense with human voices and vehicle exhausts. 2 years ago, they put up a maternity hospital right in front of me. It was small but really crowded. On an ordinary Sunday, a young woman walked alone to the hospital's front gates. Her feet nervously dragged on the sidewalk as if gravity was pulling her down. Shoulders hunched and face turned toward the ground, she timidly looked around to see if anyone noticed. I could hear her trembling breath all the way up here, but regardless of the hesitancy, she kept moving forward. The young woman aged years within hours. Hollow eyes and sunken cheeks, droplets of sweat glistened on her forehead as she walked out of the hospital. Her distressed face was as pale as the hospital's white walls. Behind the woman's back, a little baby girl followed suit. The child tried to grab her mother's attention. Tiny little fingers reached out, innocent eyes welled with tears, and pleading voices filled with desperate cries. Yet, not once did the mother turn back. She couldn't hear or see her baby. Like the others, all she wanted to do was to get out of there as fast as possible. The woman took the final steps and drove away in a taxi, leaving her child behind forever. Sun still shined on the Sunday afternoon, but there was no light left. The baby's cries had turned into uncontrollable hiccups. Once again, I did what I had to do. I carefully took the baby in and placed it gently under my shades. Sun rays cracked through my leaves and started to paint the baby's cheeks with tenderness and warmth. Wind slowly dried the tears on her cheeks, and ever so slightly, subtle breezes whispered sweet nothings into her ears. Once the baby was calmer, I introduced her to the other children. 174. Each day, more and more children ended up in my home. I began carrying children's lost souls ever since the hospital opened up. There were more than 100 of them living here. No human could see or hear them. Although each child had a different personality, they all had one thing in common. They never grow up, and they never get to see their mothers again. Together, the children stayed under my roof and hung on my branches. At night, as my rustling leaves murmured sweet lullabies, the children slept soundly in my thick umbrella of leaves under the open sky. Their friends were the sun, moon and stars, winds, rainstorms, and birds. I tried my best to give the babies everything that I could, but I knew I could never fill that hole in their hearts. The humans had big plans for me. As rainy season approached, the officials planned to cut down thousands of old and dying trees. A group of people in suits and ties came and studied my body. They forcefully took out pieces of my roots and trunk and tore them apart. Finally, they pulled out a crimson piece of ribbon and tightened it around my body. Just like that, I was marked for my death. On the branches above, the children helplessly watched. Their only home was going to be killed, and they couldn't do anything about it. Tonight was my last night on this earth. As I fondly hugged the children in 1,000 green hues and my sturdy branches, I told them about the life I had lived. More than 100 years on this earth, I witnessed 2 wars and countless deaths. I tended to the dying soldiers and stayed by their sides until the end. I was sentry to landscape, the protector of history, and a stoic guardian of so many souls. Lost children found a home under my roof when their mothers abandoned them. Then I told my babies about the lush greenness of rice fields and vibrant laughter of children and farmers from the village. I savored every fleeting moment of life, happiness and sadness, beautiful and ugly. All of them I inscribed onto the scars of my trunk. The next day, a group of people dressed in overalls, helmets, and earmuffs came back. They cleared out a huge space around me and quickly filled it up with machines, wedges, axes, and chainsaws. After a short while, a cold metallic knife sliced through one of my branches. The killing process had begun. I looked at my children, the purest of souls that lost their mothers before they even got a chance to live. I have guarded their souls for so long, and I love them so much. Then maybe it is time to let go. To let go of them, so they can let go of their pain, anger, and their suffering. They are human souls. They can be reincarnated if they learn to leave their past behind. Letting go so that the children can live happily as humans in another life. It was time, and it was the right thing to do. The children knew it too, because tears pulled up in their innocent eyes and streamed down their cheeks. I took a prolonged moment to take in my children's faces, carving each and every single detail of their features into my mind. Little hands started waving final goodbyes, and although none of the babies could speak, they magically filled the air with 1,000 thank yous. With every ounce of my entire being, I sent a silent whisper into the wind. Be free. From the horizon where the sky meets earth came a blinding white glow. A few moments passed. I felt my body turning into smoke and becoming a faint wisp of a cloud. I had always thought of myself as a solid entity, and suddenly I saw that my true nature, it's not solid at all. As I fly away, I turned into a tiny golden particle, floating freely in the universe. I died, then I was born again. They never noticed me, but I still continued to watch over the earth and touch humans with my silent presence. When that realization arose, time and space dissolved, and the painful history vanished. All that remained was a deeply rooted peace.